The Louvre Museum in Paris, one of the most iconic and heavily guarded institutions in the entire world, was robbed in broad daylight, a crime so bold, so brazen, that it left the entire world speechless. The kind of audacious crime we usually only witness in Hollywood blockbuster movies suddenly became a terrifying, shocking reality on the streets of Paris. On the morning of October 19th, 2025, the Louvre opened its grand doors to the public, just as it does every single day. Security guards stood firmly at their assigned posts throughout the museum. Tourists from every corner of the world walked excitedly through its magnificent, centuries-old halls. By 8:30 in the morning, the museum had already been welcoming visitors for a full 30 minutes. The atmosphere was calm. The morning felt routine. Everything on the surface seemed perfectly and completely normal, until something highly unusual caught the attention of a passerby on the side of the building facing the River Seine. A large truck slowly pulled up right beside the museum wall. It looked completely ordinary at first glance, exactly the kind of vehicle used every day to lift heavy furniture up to higher floors of buildings. Attached to the truck was a powerful mechanical lift, fully extended and ready. But this truck was absolutely not there for any delivery. Inside the vehicle were four individuals, sitting calmly and waiting for the right moment. They were dressed in bright yellow and orange safety vests, exactly like construction workers you would see at any building site across Paris, but their faces were completely concealed behind dark balaclavas, hiding every trace of their identities. Two of them carefully extended the mechanical lift upward. Slowly and silently, it began rising toward a first-floor balcony of the museum. That particular balcony led directly into one of the Louvre's most breathtaking and historically significant sections, the Galerie d'Apollon, also known magnificently as the Gallery of Apollo. This extraordinary gallery is home to France's most treasured royal possessions, jewels, crowns, and artifacts of immeasurable historical value. But standing between the thieves and those treasures was one single obstacle: a thick, heavy, reinforced glass wall. Once they stepped onto the balcony, they wasted absolutely no time. They immediately pulled out a powerful industrial-grade disc cutter, the kind used in heavy construction work. Within just a few seconds, bright orange sparks exploded through the early morning air as the blade tore violently through the reinforced glass. They carved an opening large enough to slip through, and without hesitation, they stepped inside the gallery. The alarm sounded almost instantly, shrieking through the halls of the museum. Guards stationed inside the Gallery of Apollo immediately spotted the intruders, but the thieves did not flinch. They did not panic. Instead, they aggressively threatened the security guards using their power tools, keeping them at bay and continuing their operation with chilling focus. Museum security began urgently evacuating tourists from the surrounding areas. Panic and confusion echoed loudly through the grand halls. Visitors were frightened, running, unsure of what was unfolding around them. Meanwhile, inside the gallery, the thieves moved with ruthless efficiency. They smashed open the reinforced display cases one by one, the sound of breaking glass ringing through the room. One by one, with practiced hands, they carefully removed 9 priceless royal treasures from their cases. Then, carrying their stolen goods, they turned and returned swiftly to the balcony. Below them on the ground, 2 more accomplices were waiting patiently on getaway scooters, engines running. The thieves descended rapidly on the mechanical lift. The moment their feet hit the ground, they mounted the scooters and vanished instantly into the busy morning streets of Paris. Police investigators later officially confirmed the jaw-dropping details of the operation. The thieves were physically inside the Louvre Museum for only 4 minutes. Just 4 minutes. The entire operation, from the moment they parked the truck, raised the lift, cut through the glass, looted the treasures, and made their full escape, was completed in just 8 astonishing minutes. 8 minutes to steal the history of France. But before making their final escape, they made one more calculated move. They attempted to deliberately set the truck on fire, hoping the flames would destroy any remaining fingerprints, gnaw traces, or physical evidence left behind. However, a quick-thinking and remarkably brave museum staff member immediately intervened and managed to stop the fire before it could fully take hold. The suspects then fled along the banks of the River Seine, smoothly merged onto Paris's famous Prix Ring Road, and then accelerated onto the A6 motorway, disappearing into the French countryside. A robbery committed in the full light of day, a blow to the pride of one of the world's greatest nations, a national humiliation that France would not soon forget. But the world wanted to know, what exactly was stolen? When museum officials carefully assessed the full extent of the damage, France was left completely stunned. A total of 9 items had been taken from the Gallery of Apollo. However, in the chaos and speed of the escape, one item was accidentally dropped. It was a magnificent 170-year-old crown, a crown that once belonged to Empress Eugenie, the beloved wife of Emperor Napoleon III. This crown had been masterfully crafted by skilled artisans back in the year 1855. During the violent theft, it was badly damaged as it was forced through the broken glass, and then, when it fell onto the hard road during the escape, it was scratched and damaged even further, a heartbreaking fate for such an irreplaceable piece of history. The remaining 8 stolen treasures, however, were completely gone, vanished without a trace. Among the missing items were a delicate tiara and an ornate brooch belonging to Empress Eugenie. Also taken was a stunning emerald necklace and matching earrings that had once graced the neck of Empress Marie-Louise. Additionally, a breathtaking sapphire tiara, a sapphire necklace, and sapphire earrings from the historic royal collections of Queen Marie-Amelie and Queen Hortense were among the stolen pieces. And finally, a rare and deeply significant historic reliquary brooch was also taken. These were not simply expensive jewels sitting in a display case. These were living symbols of centuries of French royal history, artifacts that connected the modern world to the grandeur of an empire. Their material value was officially estimated at around $2 million, but in terms of their historical and cultural significance to France and to the world, they were truly and completely priceless. What made this robbery even more mysterious and puzzling to investigators was what the thieves chose to leave behind. Strangely, despite being mere meters away, the thieves completely ignored the gallery's most legendary and valuable diamonds. They walked past the famous Regent Diamond, a stone worth well over 50 million euros. They also left behind the iconic Sancy Diamond and the magnificent Hortensia Diamond without even touching them. This deliberate and selective behavior strongly suggested to investigators that this robbery had been carefully commissioned, carried out on the specific orders of someone who knew exactly what they wanted. As investigators began meticulously examining the crime scene, a series of deeply troubling and serious security failures were gradually uncovered. In the wing of the museum where the robbery took place, it was discovered that 1 out of every 3 rooms had absolutely no CCTV camera coverage whatsoever, massive blind spots in a world-famous museum. The external security cameras had also failed to fully monitor the balcony area where the thieves entered. But perhaps the most alarming discovery of all was this. The localized alarm system specifically installed on that balcony had been malfunctioning and out of order for several days before the robbery. Had it been functioning properly, security forces would have received an immediate alert the moment the thieves set foot on the balcony, and the entire heist might have been stopped before it ever began. In the aftermath of these devastating revelations, the museum's director came forward and formally offered her resignation, publicly accepting personal responsibility for the catastrophic security failures that had allowed this crime to happen. However, in a surprising decision, her resignation was not accepted by the French authorities, and this was not even the first time in history that the Louvre had been targeted by thieves. Back in 1911, the world was shocked when the Mona Lisa, Leonardo da Vinci's most celebrated masterpiece, was brazenly stolen right off the museum's wall by a former employee named Vincenzo Peruggia. Fortunately, it was recovered 2 years later in Florence, Italy. Then in 1976, the historic sword of King Charles VI was stolen from the museum, and to this day it has never been recovered. And in 1998, yet another valuable painting mysteriously disappeared from the Louvre, and it too remains missing to this very day. Now, more than a century after the Mona Lisa theft, history had repeated itself in the most dramatic and public way imaginable. The French government responded with enormous force. More than 60 dedicated investigators, with some reports suggesting the number exceeded 100, were immediately deployed and began working around the clock to solve the case. Then, on October 25th, 2025, just 6 days after the robbery, a major breakthrough occurred. 2 suspects were arrested by French police. During the forensic investigation of the crime scene, officers had collected an extraordinary number of biological samples. Nearly 150 individual DNA samples recovered from abandoned helmets, discarded gloves, and various surfaces inside the truck. The arrests were made based on precise DNA matches from this evidence. One of the suspects reportedly had a prior criminal record, specifically involving the theft of gold. French authorities have publicly stated their strong belief that additional suspects connected to the heist will be identified and arrested in the coming days and weeks. However, despite the arrests and the ongoing investigation, the 8 stolen royal treasures have not yet been publicly recovered. The Gallery of Apollo remains completely closed to visitors as forensic teams continue their detailed work. Senior investigators have described this crime to the media as one of the most highly organized, meticulously planned, and professionally executed museum heists in modern European history. For now, the world watches and waits in breathless anticipation. Will the priceless, irreplaceable treasures of French royal history ever find their way back home? The investigation is still very much ongoing, and the mystery, for now, remains completely and utterly unsolved.